Lennie Jarratt.
Thank you, Dom and Steve and Lillian and Betty for hosting this event here, having us here so we can come answer questions for you. I'm sure we have some questions we'd like to ask too. I'm Lennie Jarratt and I'm running for state senate. This past fall, everybody knows what was happening, and Susie Smith has been a great person in Lake County and has served this county well. I found out she was going to be dropping out and not running for re-election. I also found out that the state senate Republicans were trying to handpick the candidate. I didn't take that too kindly, so I decided to run. I'm not the son of a GOP power broker. I haven't sat on the county board. I've been working grassroots around here for the last 7 years, fighting for you, fighting for lower taxes. In fact, I led the effort in Grays Lake School District, and they got them to refund almost $7 million back to the taxpayers because they didn't properly issue bonds. So you're looking for people to go to Springfield. You like the status quo? There's other people you can vote for, because I'm not going to be status quo. I'm going down there and I'm going to fight for you. One thing I keep hearing with all my activity stuff around the county with the school districts and stuff is, you can't win. You can't win this battle. I've already won because I have altered their behavior. They no longer do the same things anymore. And I plan on doing the same thing in Springfield. Go down there, hold everyone accountable, hold the politicians accountable, both parties, because we have to end the backroom deals. There's no excuse for not fighting for the people. We have to start having the government support the families and the citizens and not continuing to grow the size of government anymore. So recently, I had the opportunity to go up to Zion. One of the community members called me because the teachers were getting ready to go on strike up there. I went up there. We held a town hall to talk about education, and we reached out to everybody, both sides of the aisle. In fact, Joe's sister actually came to the event. We sat and talked, and she asked for information how to help. We helped them. They got activated. The strike ended in 4 days. When the second town hall came from the citizens of Zion, the teachers went in there the next day. They settled the contract. It's all about working together, and we can work together but still hold everyone accountable to make sure they are doing the right thing. Speaking of property taxes here and bills in Springfield now, the average of them being behind their bills is 7 months. You look at a list, I saw a list yesterday, looking through that list, Antioch District 34, Antioch 117, the Grays Lake School District, Lake County, all of them, there's millions of dollars that are owed to them by the states right now. Every year in December, they go and raise their levy because they know the state's not paying its bills. So the levies are just a state-sanctioned tax. It just keeps putting the burden on the local level because the state will not do what it should be doing to take care of the debt problem that they have. They have a spending problem. They don't have a revenue problem. They have plenty of tax revenue coming in. They just can't control their spending. You hear them talk about cuts. They're not cutting anything. They're continuing to raise their budget every single year. They're only cutting their growth, and we're paying for it, and businesses are paying for it.
This question is titled Education Funding. It says, taxes are rising on private property owners to fund education. Do you have a plan to maintain education funding while lessening the individual tax burden on residents?
Education is the reason I'm actually up here, because that's what I started doing 7 years ago, was fighting a school referendum. So I've researched a lot of the school issues and some of the spending problems and stuff there. A lot of schools do have spending problems. A lot of it does come from the money's not coming from the state, so the burden's getting shifted over to the local taxes. One thing you have to remember, there is a lot of unfunded mandates that come from both the federal government and the state government. A lot of these unfunded mandates, many of you don't know, are actually pushed by the NEA and the IFT. So the teachers unions are pushing unfunded mandates onto the schools, and then the schools have to deal with how to fund that and how to pay for that. One thing we can do to help that is stop these unfunded mandates, go through them. We can see the majority of them aren't needed. Majority of stuff with schools are common sense. The next thing we have to do is, right now the power of the money is in the hands of the bureaucracy. It is not in the hands of the parents and the school board. And we have to change the system to empower the parents so there begins to be a true competition in the schools. When Milwaukee started their system where they allow students to be able to go to different schools and actually have a choice where their kids go to school, the test scores went up. and those 20% of kids, they got to choose another school. The funny thing is that most people haven't read about the 80% of the kids that were left in the other schools, their test scores also increased. The competition helped both segments of the population. It did not just help the kids that were able to go to have their choice. So the system has to be about choice, empowering parents over the bureaucracy, because that's the way you're going to start controlling costs and lower the costs. Milwaukee also, their school cost up there has also been able to decrease the cost of their education up there as well, and that will start taking the burden back off of the property taxes.
More specifically, how will you, if elected, address pension issues?
A major pension problem here in Illinois. One of the things you'll see if you start looking at some of the contracts and stuff that public employees get, a few years ago, they had passed a law because there was pensions going up. The last 4 years people would work, they'd get 20% bumps every year for the last 4 years to inflate their pension. Now that's been limited down to 6. So now it's called the 666 plan, actually. So the last 3 years, public employees, for the majority of them, are getting 6% each year, so their pensions are getting inflated. That is no way, that is unsustainable, and we need to end that. Yeah, I think you want to talk about term limits. The easiest way to have term limits is also end the pensions for all legislators. If they don't have a pension, they're not going to want to stay there forever. That's one thing you can do. The budget problem we have here is all related. A lot of it's related to the pensions. Shortly here, the pension is going to be more than 50% of the funding for education. The funding for education is going to have to start shrinking because the money's going to have to go to the pensions. We have to figure out a way to change the pensions now. We have to protect the pensions of the people that are there now, because if we don't change the pensions for the new employees coming in, it is going to start affecting the pensions of everybody that's getting pensions now. And so we have to do something. This is getting out of control. When you start looking at the budgeting systems around here, you'll hear the number $27 billion passed around for the general fund. That's the part that has to get balanced every year. It's balanced by cash accounting. There is no true government, generally accepted accounting practices. So when they add a pension on or something, that's never added until the bill is actually paid. So any business that brings in over $5 million a year, if they use government accounting, they go to jail. They'd be out of business. Government does not use normal accounting practices, and that's something we have to end. And you'll have to notice that the real budget is actually $53 billion, which is not counting the general accepted practices. For the general budget, it's only $27 billion, and that's the part they use for the balanced budget part.
Medicaid is a major expense. How can the program be reformed? More specifically, what will each of you do around the issue of Medicaid?
Yes, I have not done a whole lot of research into Medicaid myself either, but I do know some of the things about the healthcare system. We have the whole Obamacare debate, and some of the issues is a lot of the mandates and stuff that are going on are forcing the cost up, and that's forcing the cost of Medicare and stuff up too. And we need to reform the system where we can go to more of like a voucher system, being able to give the patients the ability to directly pick their doctors and handle it, because that's one of the problems we have with Medicaid, is that the state is not paying their bills. You've got doctors that refuse to take Medicaid. You've got doctors, because they haven't gotten paid, have left the state. My personal doctor actually left the state and went back teaching because he could no longer afford to work here in Illinois. And so that's some of the things we have to do. There's ways to reform the system that aren't going to cost us as much money and keep increasing the cost. We've got to interject some free market ideals and give people, if we're empowering people again, instead of continuing to empower government bureaucrats.
Each candidate will get a 2-minute closing. Let's go ahead and start with Lennie.
I want to encourage each of you to do your research on the candidates. Look at our backgrounds, look at our track records, see who is going to be the person that's going to go to Springfield and work the most for you. I mean, we have candidates up here, I know. If you want status quo, I'm not your person. I'm not going to be status quo. I'm going to go down there and actually give Dan Duffy a run for the furthest parking space in Springfield. You have to think about where do you want your kids working? What kind of state do you want? Do you want your kids when they graduate? Do you want them moving to Texas? Do you want them moving to Florida? Do you want them moving to California? Well, California's losing jobs too, but Illinois is losing, from 1995 to 2009, was losing one person every 10 minutes. Over $26 billion of taxable income left this state. We need somebody in Springfield that's going to fight for you. When I notified Senate Republicans that I was running, they called me back and said, we're dysfunctional down here, and you're going to be like a tugboat. And I'm like, that's fine with me. I know you're dysfunctional, but I know a tugboat is small but powerful, and they will push bigger ships into the direction they need them to go and get them back on course and get them into the dock where they need to be. And my request to you is look at me, research me, but I'm asking you to send a tugboat to Springfield.